Yep, alright, we're recording.
Woo!
Hold on.
Exciting. Yes? No?
Okay. Yeah, I think we're
Okay.
recording. I think so. Alright. Cool. Hold on, I'm just gonna make this. Ah! Stop it. Okay. Cool. Alright, so, hi guys. So, I'm Zaven Wyke. If you don't know that by this point, then I'm Zaven Wyke. And my lovely guest reviewers today on my left is Connor McCluskey.
Yo.
And on my right is Corbett Baratta.
Hello, everyone.
Nice. All right. So today's review topic is Doctor Who: The Return of Doctor Mysterio, which was this year's Christmas special. And actually, really, I mean, besides his little inclusion in class this year, it's really the really only Doctor Who thing we got pretty much this year. Like that's actually
Yeah.
strictly Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Um, so, I guess I'll start with the obvious question. First impressions. Whoever
I
wants to
feel
go,
like
go ahead.
I feel like my first impression was almost like I feel like it's kind of like an average episode, but I feel like the fact it came out like after like a year or so of like not having any, it made it almost feel better than it was for like the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
And I watched it again. I think it's still a really good episode or whatever, but I think overall it's really good. I think it gets the Christmas mood. It gets me well in the Christmas mood. It's just a nice, fun adventure that I don't have to think too much about, which I think is what I needed after 2016.
Yeah.
True.
Connor, how about you?
I really enjoyed it. Like you said, it was forever since we saw anything Doctor Who really this year, excluding class, but I haven't actually gotten an opportunity to watch class. But I really liked kind of how it fit in immediately after last year's Christmas special, which I didn't realize till halfway through this episode that I'm like, oh, this was all like immediately after each other. This is all like
Yeah.
happened very recently. So like when they were talking about people, I was like, oh, this is all very fresh in the Doctor's memory. I also loved the comment on like this superhero genre. It's such a very popular genre nowadays. There are many like jokes that you can make with it, and they really brought it to life, which I think is a nice call to their audience because their audiences tend to gravitate towards all these
Yeah.
fictional entities. But we also had the opportunity to comment on it and like kind of parody it almost, which I thought was awesome and like a perfect opportunity for Doctor Who to be a little more comedic for the Christmas special, especially because there hasn't been anything around it, so you can't really put anything serious into it. So they kind of focused a little more comedy, which I really enjoyed. So
Nice.
I,
So me, so actually last night I rewatched it, actually watched it and took notes. And here, yeah, I took notes.
of
Um, dedication.
course you did.
Dedication. So on the first viewing, I saw it Christmas night. I thought it was, like Corbett said, it was kind of just a fun Christmassy Doctor Who episode. Upon watching it last night and actually hearing what other Whovians on the internet had to say about it, um, which I actually kind of agree with most of them, it's it went from a good Christmas episode to it's an okay episode. To me, anyways, because if you really compare it to, like, previous Christmas specials or previous episodes of the actual, like, season of Doctor Who, like, it doesn't quite measure up to what, because we've had some really good, like, season 9, Doctor Who wise, I thought was good, minus a few episodes, which
It's unfair to compare anything to season 9 of Doctor Who.
well, but what I'm saying is like this is kind of coming off of it because that's the only season we've had before this Christmas special. So, but like Moffat did really good with season 9 in my opinion. So when I saw this one for the second time, it was yeah, it was a total, homage to like Superman and, heroes in general. But at the same time, if you really want to think about it plot wise, to me anyways, it seemed really, really lacking. Like
Mm.
it seemed like there was parts of it that were like they were trying to go for something and they almost did, but then it cuts to something else and it's like, oh, so we don't get to finish. Okay, that's kind of how it felt to me. It felt like there was different stories within this one episode that just did not mix together very well. Um, I mean, I like Capaldi. He's still my probably one of my favorite doctors thus far. He's good in the role, and I mean, he did his best with this episode. I mean, he did his very best with it, and he had a few. There was a few times that I was like, he made a few quips here and there, and it's like, okay, that's fine. Like, it's nice to see Capaldi lighten up a little bit because he started out all
Right.
dark and brute, and yeah, now he's a little lighter, but yeah, so I enjoyed it, but not as much as I wanted to. I'll just say that. Um, so yeah, so going off of that, let's actually look at the 3 pages of notes I actually wrote.
God.
Yeah,
Oh my.
I wrote brief. I didn't write like in full depth. Um, so obviously we've talked about like the superheroes. In young Grant's room, and I guess a little bit in his older Grant's room, we see like comics of DC and even Marvel, which I thought was interesting.
You gotta find that bridge between them. You can't play favorites.
Yeah,
We're not, Grant is not the internet. He's allowed to like multiple things.
I mean, hey, I like DC and Marvel too, so I'm not complaining about that at all. I'm just saying, like, I totally noticed that, like, in younger Grant more than older Grant's room. Um, and kind of the way they did superheroes in this one was basically so it's a gym that basically gives anyone what they think, pretty much the ability to do that. So obviously, young Grant had read a lot of comic books, so the gym thought he wanted to become a superhero. So, in that like he became a superhero. Like unintentionally, but I don't know. Like, what's your guys' thought on that being the way that the ghost, which is ironic because the gym is technically called the Ghost too that he's rolled.
Yeah.
So, what's your guys' thoughts on a gym being the source of power in this case?
I love it because it's completely ridiculous, like a comic book kind of thing should be. I mean, it's supposed to be like a cheesy 70s superhero movie. I want, like, it's almost like I expect it to be something stupid. And, like, we even have Capaldi making jokes about why Spider-Man isn't having, like, radioactive effects, like hair falling out.
Yep.
Because that's how he gets his powers. So, plus, I like the way it allows the story to move, where, like, the gem doesn't necessarily have to do what you want it to. It's like it like can do things you don't want, like when teenage Grant has X-ray vision all the time.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the fact that I kind of like the way it was set up, and I like the idea of the gem in general, something that gives you something it thinks you want, not necessarily what you ask of it.
Yeah. Connor?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. It's a great kind of comment on superhero origin stories and how ridiculous they really kind of are. Because I mean, think about it. Like, oh, you go through a science experiment and it works, and now you have all these powers, or you're bitten by a radioactive spider. Like, these are very realistic things, and the Doctor is someone who's based on kind of science and logic, immediately like questions it and being like, okay, this is kind of dumb. But I also like kind of how it ties into like that Christmas wish idea, right? He wished to be a superhero, and that's kind of fits with the holiday theme where this is kind of granting him that wish, but also throwing in a little, be careful what you wish for, because immediately he freaks out and flies off, which is very real. I thought that was kind of a nice touch. So I personally like more science in the gem. I would like to see where it could have gone, but again, it's meant to be funny and kind of play
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Cool. So, another thing was, so when the Doctor actually first meets Grant, he he's swinging from the window outside because he was trying to set a trap, but clearly, that didn't go very well for him. But he asks if he can come inside, and Grant just casually says, "Oh, let me go ask my mom if you can come in." And then when he comes back, he's like, "Yeah, you're expecting." The Doctor's like, "What?" And I kind of laughed when he comes in with milk and cookies. I'm like, oh, the Doctor was mistaken for Santa.
Which is hilarious.
I mean, the funny thing is, the Doctor.
in the original documents they made, they sort of described him as like Father Christmas meets H.G. Wells. So
I
like the idea that I like the Doctor basically being Santa.
Yeah.
Of course, you've already had Santa, but
I mean, the Doctor is old enough to be Santa. Like, he's over 2,000 years old now, so, I think that's pretty old enough to be that. So yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. We talked about the Spider-Man mockery, which was hilarious. So, with older Grant, we find out that he's the ghost, but he's also the nanny to Lucy Fletcher, which, ironically, at the same time, he is rescuing Lucy, and he's basically doing the complex life of trying to juggle real life with superhero life, and I don't know. I thought it was an interesting idea. I didn't necessarily see it coming, but when I did see it, it was like, oh, okay, now that I think about it, it kind of makes sense. Like, the reason why he would be at the building where Lucy was secretly trying to, see what the heck was going on, like, it kind of makes sense why he was there, because obviously, watching out for her, but, what were your guys' thoughts on that, on him being her nanny, but then also being the ghost?
I find it funny that he kept referring to her by her last name all the time when in the beginning, so they could hide the twist early, which I found that's like one of the few like real flaws I noticed in the script, is that's really kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
like apparently known her for so long, but I like it just because like it even is the comment on like how Lois Lane, like they blatantly say it's the comment how Lois Lane can't notice that it's the same person just because they wear a pair of glasses. Also, it reminded me of like Moffat's older sitcoms and stuff like that, because it was a very sitcom-y kind of, I'm going to turn into a hero, come back, I got to do this. So I kind of like it. So it feels like I think it worked very well just because of what it was intended to do, and I think it executed it well.
Connor?
Yeah, I kind of also agree. Looking back on it, it's a little creepy if he's known her his entire life and just ended up as like their nanny after like she had a and this kind of relationship that they have. Looking back on it, it's a little creepy.
Just a little bit.
But again, that's that comment on like the superhero. Like you said, she's immediately seen as Lois Lane, like the reporter, got to get the story. He's got like that double life. And it was a great kind of twist because I didn't see it coming where he's like, oh, he's the nanny for her child, which I thought was kind of interesting. But again, still a little creepy.
Yeah.
I find it weird that he becomes the nanny after his best friend falls in love with the girl he loves, and then they get married, and then the dude leaves her. Like, this is a really sad backstory. Like, it's like the world's ultimate pathetic backstory. It's like perfect.
Yeah. And for like a love story, it's kind of nice. Like, he was always there for her, and I get that, but kind of realistically, it's, or at least going into it, not really relating to the character, because like the backstory is chopped up as like we see the Doctor kind of see younger and go back and forth. but even then, it's still kind of, I don't know. But again, it's a great comment kind of on that superhero genre of double life. So, and I thought a nanny was more interesting than like a reporter, photographer. So, I thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah. Oh. Okay. So on the point that Connor made about going from the past to the future, and then back to the past, and so forth. Um. Me personally, and you guys can let me know what you guys think of it as well. Towards the middle of the episode, I kind of got a little tired of switching back and forth from past to future. I get why they did it, like, because to kind of show, like, how things happen, but I don't know. Like, I feel like at times it was a little too much to keep going back. Because, like, as I said, there's plot points in this episode that, like, were going, but then you'd stop and switch to a completely different one. That's what I kind of felt like was happening when we went from future to past, future to past. I kind of felt like two different plot lines that kind of worked together, but, like, they were... I don't know. They just didn't...
No, I agree. It kind of was like they wanted to provide that backstory in the way that Doctor Who usually provides a backstory, which is literally going back in time and witnessing it happen, which was great, and I loved seeing it. But in this specific episode, the backstory could have been established with the simple dialogue.
Yeah.
It really could have. I mean, it wasn't that complex. He loved this girl all his entire life. He even explained it mostly in a dialogue. So going back in time, it just felt unwarranted. Even I kind of was thrown off by it. And eventually, like, it calmed down towards the end.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I agree.
I'll actually disagree with both either. One of the few complaints I had with it was I feel like we got, like, maybe, like, 2 flashbacks into it and then sort of left it. But it kind of leaves this, like, weird gap where you're like, he's seen him twice in his life and then knows him. Like, kind of. It feels like they had enough time where we could have made that backstory almost deeper, because I like the relationship between the Doctor and Grant and how that goes. And instead it feels a bit like more distant than I think they wanted him to feel. Like, so I feel like if we had more of like Grant and the Doctor's connection with each other and like the various times he popped in, I could have like felt that more. I think it came off well as it did, but I feel like this episode could have used an extra like 5 minutes or so. Like maybe 2 or so minutes of that just so we could... Maybe I guess my thing isn't that I felt that it needs it to happen more often, but maybe that the scenes that they had were almost longer or just deeper in some way.
Yeah.
In order for us to make that connection better.
A good example in Doctor Who that I just actually thought of, if you guys remember A Christmas Carol with Matt Smith, how he went back in time, he stayed with younger, gosh, I can't remember the man's name.
Ian McKellen.
It wasn't. Well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't Ian McKellen.
Was it?
No,
was it Ian? Was it Michael Gambon?
Yeah,
it was one of the two.
It was one of those two.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Connor, Google that stuff.
I'm looking it up. I'm on a computer now. What am I doing?
I don't know.
Continue on.
But like that. You know, with the Doctor being in the past, with the younger version, and the future version seeing what's happening within the past, like, that worked really well. Like, that's what and I mean, obviously, this is a totally different episode, a totally different Doctor, different ways of doing
Michael
things.
Gambon.
Michael Gambon.
Michael.
Yeah. But, yeah, like, I think that's the good way to do back and forth between future and past. Because, at least with A Christmas Carol, we kind of stuck with the past for most of the episode and occasionally went to the future to the actual problem, but, like, they spaced it out very nicely that it worked fine. So, I kind of think they could have done something similar like that with this episode, just to make the two past and present, kind of fit better together, because they've done it. So, like, you know, kind of use what you did before, just in a more now way. I don't know. That's my thoughts, anyways. I thought, that's the one time I know they did future and past like
Hmm.
plots very well together. Um, yeah. So, um, so we have Nordal back. Um, if you remember, he was in Hydroflax's robot suits at the end of Husbands of River Song. It is revealed that the Doctor did actually cut him out of Hydroflax's robot suit and reassembled him, um, which I'm very interested to see how exactly he reassembled him, but I'm not going to ask too many questions about that.
Science.
He's a transformer now. That's how it works out.
um, but anyway, so Nordal is actually like spying for the Doctor in the beginning, which I thought was interesting. But like his introduction, I thought was actually pretty funny. He's like he's the one guy in the audience who's like, excuse me, Mr. Brock, where's the little boys' room? I'm sure you'll find the restroom when you follow everyone else. It's like, no, I want the little boys' room. But, oh, Nordal. I think going into season 10, I think he'll be a nice presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the cool thing about him is at the end of the episode, he kind of pretty much says like, I'm kind of going to keep the Doctor in check until he's like back to his, his normal self. So I kind of like that. And then with the involvement of Bill, eventually, I think that'll also help. But in this episode, Nordal, he was pretty funny. He had a lot of good moments where he kind of shined with like, he had maybe 2-line quips and stuff, but like they just kind of worked. So what did you guys think of Nordal in this episode?
I was worried at first because I didn't find, as much as I liked Matt Lucas as like an actor, I didn't find his character like very interesting from Husbands.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very happy that he was kind of like toned down when they brought him here, where he's playing a much more kind of dry humor kind of character than like how slapsticky they had him last time. I like that there was more depth to him. As much as I like him, I feel like he didn't really add much to it. Like, he's basically there just to tell jokes.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And, like, sit around, which is fine for, comic relief. Like, I almost feel like there could have been a way to, like, add more of him into the plot, though, because it feels like he's just kind of fumbling around so we can get used to having him. But I love Matt Lucas's performance as him. He delivers lines great. I like the part where Lucy comes back and they're sitting there, and she asks him why they're in the apartment. He's like, "We could ask you, but this is your apartment, so we won't."
Yeah, and
Lucas. I think Matt Lucas is very good in it. I can't wait to see what he does for season 10, just because it really was a pretty fun performance to have around.
Yeah, Connor.
Yeah, about to say, I was pleasantly surprised with his performance. I thought he was good in Husbands, but he was kind of just like a character that was there, cracked a couple jokes, kind of moved on. Well, I don't think he will kind of reach full companion status, or at least like in terms of quality of character, backstory, all that stuff. It was very interesting to see him kind of in this role because, like you said, cracking jokes mostly, but they were really good, solid jokes. He kind of provided a kind of, how do I put it? He provided a different perspective, because usually in companions, they're kind of a rock and like, this is incredible, like we're going forward in space and time, and like they're kind of what makes the fantasy very realistic to us or relatable to us and keeps it kind of realistic. Whereas he fully understands it. He was part of a robot, got cut out. So it's kind of a nice difference of it. So we kind of lose the whole fantasy of like space and time doing all of that, and we kind of get to focus on the fantasy at hand, which is superheroes and usual alien invasion. Yeah. So that was interesting. Yeah.
And the other thing about Nordal, which I thought was really interesting, because don't think he's been with the Doctor that long since Delirium. Um, is he knows how to pilot the TARDIS already? Like, that's
I mean, like, they were together for 24 years, like, because he was with River Song. So I
yeah,
feel like 24 years with two people who know how to pilot it, you could teach someone,
Very true.
how to do it.
yeah.
I'm sure they found sufficient time.
Yeah, I mean, 24 years, I would hope so. Um, but I thought that was kind of interesting that he knew how to pilot the TARDIS so that the Doctor helping him, really. Um, yep. Um, so, let's talk about... I'll get to Lucy in just a few minutes, but I want to talk about the antagonist of the film. The alien brains. Which, the funny thing is, they kind of remind me of a enemy that is way better than them, but kind of does the same thing. Appeared back in Series 7, The Great Intelligence. Like, because, it was Series 7. Because remember, they kind of take, they use the Wi-Fi to collect people and do things. In this case, they're actually taking a full human body to do stuff. So, I don't know. I thought it was interesting that they had somewhat of a parallel to the Great Intelligence. I wouldn't say they're as good as the Great Intelligence, but, they... Again, with this antagonist, though, I kind of felt like it was... it was okay. It's your typical, we're aliens. We're gonna take over the Earth. We're gonna take all your main leaders and make them ours, and then we're gonna do something that's like possibly gonna threaten the Earth and destroy everything. It's like, yeah, we've seen this like how many times in Doctor Who thus far, and it's like, I don't know. I want me personally. I wanted another level to them where it got like interesting. It's like, oh, okay, so this is why I should be really interested in them. But it was kind of, I don't know, kind of just slopped in there, to be honest. What do you guys think?
First of all, those brains are totally Krang because they have eyes and they never get to be the robots.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
what? Like, seriously, Moffat? You can't watch some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, learn your stuff. But other than that, yeah, no, they're. I find it kind of interesting. Their plan is basically the plan from Watchmen: create a giant like diversion in New York City in order to get everyone grouped together. Although in this case, it's for them to do evil rather than try to create peace from it.
Yeah.
Which I find their plan is actually sort of interesting, but I also find it's basically said so late into the episode they just come off as really generic, like, we are bad guys. Also, I find it funny Moffat reused the whole naming people after music and water again with the Harmony Shoal Corporation.
Oh, yeah.
With that odd little obsession of his. I think overall, I think they served the thing fine. Like, brains with eyes are kind of creepy, I guess. They're kind of just boring villains, and honestly. I feel like it wasn't really focused on them, though, so I didn't mind that much.
Yeah. Connor, what'd you think about the Krangs?
I agree.
They're great.
First off, immediately noticed they were Krang. I was just like, this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Come on, Moffat. Come on. But overall, they're kind of dumb. Like, I wasn't intimidated by their original plan of we are going to put our brains in the minds of world leaders. Like, so many villains have tried to do that. Like, that's the entire Cybermen, like, objective.
Yeah.
Like, that's more or less is, like, replacing people. And so it was kind of... It just felt so, like, by the books, and I didn't mind it so much because they really didn't focus on it. They focused on, like, the superhero aspect of it and to comment on that, and kind of the Doctor's association with all that, which, so, again, it was more of a plot device to kind of move everything along, but I feel like they could have done more with it.
Yeah.
Like, it was an opportunity to throw in a villain that could have been used more, and...
Yeah.
We got Krang.
Also the fact that German doctor dude never threw the gun at the ghost after he tried shooting him. Like, what? Like, you're trying to do Superman here. Why are none of you like? How did you miss that reference right there?
Yeah.
Like, that just angered me. Like, throw the gun, bro.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yep. Um,
Whoa. Connor is frozen. Oh, hey, there he is.
oh,
Hey,
back?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. I lost you guys for a second there.
you're back.
oh, okay.
You're back from the dead.
I'm back.
Woo.
Ooh.
Anyways, so speaking about the German doctor, Dr. Sims, or what was left of him, Mr. Brock, I'll just kind of group this into the brain crangs. They're average too. I mean, I wanted better villains, and they weren't very well written. They're, as you said, by the books. Like, and it's like, this is Doctor Who. They do things that are sometimes off the book, which work really well. But then it's like, this one's like, come on, guys! Like, you have the opportunity to do something with these creatures. So be creative. Like, don't just play it safe and just kind of. I don't know. Bottom line there is villains could have been way better in this film, in this episode. Just saying. So yeah, we briefly touched on Lucy Fletcher. She's pretty much Lois Lane, just not with Lois's name. That's pretty straightforward. The funny thing I found is when, after the whole thing with the ghost and the German doctor, they end up at Lucy's house, and the doctor told her before they worked for Scotland Yard, and then she's like, "Oh, okay, I want to talk to you. I want to ask you some questions," and when they get home and she actually starts questioning them, she uses a squeeze words here, squeaky toy, there we go, to kind of make him tell the truth, which was interesting because, like, so when she squeezed it so hard that it'd slowly come up, so it'd just be like the doctor would be like, "Oh, stop," like, yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean,
That would have annoyed the hell out of me if someone tried that in real life. Like, that toy was like, I would have knocked that thing in 5 seconds.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure the doctor wanted to at one point too. So he was
Me
like,
and Capaldi both had that look on our face. We're like, oh my god, we have to deal with this.
yeah, yeah. So that was one thing that I thought was interesting. So here I said that. Where we talked about 24 years with River Song and Delirium. The doctor makes a nice eulogy to her in the end of the episode. It's small, but it's still sweet. I mean, she was his wife, so
I want to give Matt Lucas credit there too, since he had to be the last most of the episode, as he delivered that last part really well.
Oh yeah,
like that surprised me. I'm like, oh, this dude got emotion in him. So
yeah, like the last scene with the doctor and Nardole were probably the most serious and emotional out of the whole episode. So I liked that. That was a nice touch to an episode that was kind of here and there and everywhere. The cool thing I found was that, and I don't know if it's because the doctor had a mic or something, but the doctor whistled, and that got Nardole and the TARDIS's attention. It would be cool if the doctor didn't have a mic, and literally just whistled, and the TARDIS just came to him that way. Kind of like when he snaps his finger and the door opens for him.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm assuming, because I know Nardole in the beginning had a little mic right here on his coat, so that's how he knew. I don't know. maybe something for future writers of Doctor Who to look into, whistling to get the TARDIS to come to them. I don't know. So yeah. So the interview between Lucy and the ghost slash Grant. The best way to describe it was awkward. But the funny thing was the mask reveal was the most epic fail ever. Like seriously, like I was watching Lucy the whole time and she just has her hands like, oh, and it's like seriously, you can't look at just one point, like because it finally took for the spaceship dropping to New York and him catching it for her to realize, oh hey, you're actually the ghost. I should have looked up earlier, but I didn't because I was too like embarrassed with myself that I had to hide in my hands the whole time. So yeah, it was an epic fail. Yeah. Yeah.
What happens when you're doing it's what happens when you do 70s Superman is everything's gotta be an epic fail.
Well, I mean,
I love that whole scene just because I don't know why. I love all the blatant Superman references in this whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's just like as a fan of the Reeves movies, it's just like I don't really care that it's basically just a remake of 79 Superman. It's like a great remake of it.
Yeah.
Very true.
So interesting enough, in this episode, there are a few sexual jokes that younger audience members wouldn't get, but us being in the age that we are would totally
100% mature adults.
Yeah. Maybe 85.
We're totally adults.
Maybe 85%. I don't know.
Solid 85%.
Solid 60.
Whew. Sorry. But
Don't.
yeah, I know. But like, for instance, the last line that the doctor says to Mr. Brock is like, "I have a baby to change," and he's like, "You're not the only one full of it," which everyone. Yeah, I mean, with a baby and yeah, like we got it, and then
Yep.
when Mr. Brock says, "We want the same thing that you do," his body, I'm like, oh my gosh, do they really say that out loud? Like,
Look, it's a Stephen Moffat script. It's gonna be like 50% sex jokes, like no matter who he's making it for. That's just like the truth of it.
What to say? There've been multiple episodes. The one I remember is like back to A Christmas Carol. He makes a joke of sitting in this room designing sonic screwdrivers instead of going for the girl, which I think is hilarious. But it's those kind of jokes that just kind of scoot over other people's heads.
yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting how many they actually used in this episode. It's like, okay, so they went there. All right, okay then. So yeah, we touched on that the spaceship was secretly a bomb because they pretty much had the reactors going at critical, ready to explode on cue. The interesting thing was the headquarters that the Brains or the Cranes were, the New York one anyway. Well, I think all of them actually, like their buildings were able to withstand like the strength of 4 nuclear bombs, which I thought was interesting because like it makes sense with the spaceship being a bomb. So if it bombs New York, they're the only building that remains. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
It makes me wonder how strong the ghost actually is if he can completely take down glass meant to withstand 4 nuclear weapons. Like,
well,
that's some crazy power right there.
I mean, keep in mind the stone that's within him. Whatever you think, it pretty much brings to life. So if he really wanted to break the window and snap it, the gym probably would give him the ability to do that. So,
actually, based on the clip, I do wonder what kind of glazier do you go to get that resistant glass? Where can I find him?
Probably not on Earth. I
I
probably
must
on
say, I
Earth.
have issues with the science. Can't build a 4 nuclear bomb shelter out of a skyscraper. That's not a thing. That's not how it works.
That sounds like it'd be very heavy glass.
It would
Would
have to
have to
be,
be
yeah.
much, much thicker
No,
than what it was.
no, you know what it is? It's that material from the Heaven Sent that he had to break through. It's like
Oh gosh.
400 times stronger
Oh,
than
yeah.
that. That's what it's made out of.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. So that was interesting. And then the funny thing is, when the spaceship is actually crashing into New York, the 12th Doctor has the 11th Doctor moment where he just pushes all the buttons just randomly, just goes completely insane, just pushes anything in the ship. And I don't know. To me, when I saw that, it's like that totally reminds me of like the 11th Doctor. Like he would totally do that. Like I know. Funny enough, and A Christmas Carol, he literally does that with the machine, the cloud sky machine. He literally pushes every button, even though it doesn't actually work for him because it's only keyed to the guy's DNA. But I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting that Capaldi channeled the 11th Doctor into his Doctor. So that was pretty.
Well, it's the Doctor. He has to bash on buttons. That's like his job. When you
Well,
don't know what to do, it's your only option.
I mean, yes, but there are there are some of the doctors that are a little more collected and tried to find the right button, and then there's the 11th Doctor who just wants to try every button until he finds the right one. So, I
I'm
mean,
honestly happy there was no button that like immediately detonated everything, because like that would have gone terrible if that had existed.
yeah, I don't know. The funny thing is like the German doctor said like, whenever the time comes, we can immediately send the spaceship down to Earth and blow it up. And I'm like, and the one thing I was thinking was, so if you could have done that, how come you didn't just blow it up when it was like a few feet above New York? Like I get it that their time wasn't right, but at the same time, like, now your spaceship is pretty much useless. It's in the sun, it's gone, and now,
Right.
yeah, now you're just.
Well, they had to get the ghost so they could take his powers, because like he's the super person, and then they could
Right.
do whatever. I don't know. Don't
He
question it.
is
Superhero movie.
superhero, very conveniently for the plot. Like this, his body's gonna be the best. So it's very like arch enemy, supervillain esque kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
That's what they're supposed to be. They're the
Cares
super.
about.
They're like the crazy, like Silver Age supervillains who are completely ridiculous concepts who conveniently need the hero for something.
yeah.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, so eventually the Doctor gets Unit to finally take down. I don't know if it was all of them, but I know for sure they took down the New York headquarters. And of
Yeah.
course, we get this stupid thing of, oh, one of the brains took over a Unit officer. Now it's within Unit. Because it's not like we've had aliens in Unit before. Oh, wait, we have. Like, a lot. So, like, it's getting to the point where I think Unit is starting to lose its touch. If they get like as many aliens in their organization as they have, it's like it's come to the point where it's like, okay, guys, you're not doing something right if this is happening so often now. Like,
Which would be a great like episode for Doctor Who is to have Unit fall apart into a massive alien civil war within the organization. That actually would be cool. That sounds awesome.
I mean, Unit's supposed to be basically a parody of like ultra paramilitary incompetent organizations who can't really get much done.
Exactly.
That's why they have like the Doctor on their staff, because otherwise they would never get anything finished.
yeah,
I mean, they come up a lot in Doctor Who to have those sort of like mock authoritarian organizations that do stuff like that. Like Torchwood was a big one in season 2 that took that to an extreme.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that happened. And yeah, so pretty much so, and then we got the season 10 teaser trailer, which looks interesting. I will say though, as a teaser by itself, it was weirdly enough kind of like this episode, kind of lacked a little bit to it. Like, I mean, granted, yes, it's a teaser, so they don't really give too much away. I understand that, but I've seen...
They're not even done filming the season, Zane. They don't have the footage. They collected everything.
I don't know. I thought the funny thing was, though, they did actually focus on Bill a lot. So kind of, put her front and center, so that was interesting. But yeah, so...
I like that the Sonic sunglasses aren't gone. That was nice to see in
there.
Yeah, they're coming back.
Sonic sunglasses aren't dead.
Yeah, I still hope he does. I still hope he uses his current Sonic though. Because I love that Sonic.
I'm sure he will, but also.
Of course he's going to, but sometimes you need the sunglasses when you got to be inconspicuous.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. So that's pretty much most of the episode. It was, in my opinion, it was pretty average. But let's actually rate it instead of just saying words. So remember, movies 1 to 5, TV shows 1 to 10. So whoever wants to go first, go for it.
I'll give it an 8 out of 10, just because I needed something that nice and relaxing after this devastating year without Doctor Who. It's nice. Then I appreciated a lot of the elements of it. I liked having the superhero parody. I liked seeing I think most of the relationships were really well done. Really, to me, the only real bad points are a few structural things and having a bit of a weak supervillain, but that kind of goes with the territory. So I guess I recognize it's sort of average, but I'm willing to forgive it a lot because it's just supposed to be a fun thing on Christmas. It doesn't need to be the most mind-blowing episode of television I ever watched. So,
okay, Connor.
Oh, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, it's very by the books. Bad guy, plot device, slight relationship with the characters. So it wasn't in the vast vicinity of Doctor Who. Definitely was not my favorite episode. But like you said, it's a Christmas special. Really, what you want to focus on that is just having fun, enjoying the holidays. I thought it was hilarious. This is the first time I've really laughed in a Doctor Who episode. I think the comment on superheroes was awesome. And I really just enjoyed it. Especially, we haven't had Doctor Who in forever. So having just an average episode, I'm perfectly fine with. I really did enjoy it. So, yeah.
Nice. For me... I'm gonna have to go 7 out of 10. And the funny thing is, Connor, like you mentioned, and I think we all mentioned it, it's the Christmas special. The funny thing is, there is very little Christmas actually in it.
Very little.
Very little.
At the beginning, and that's it.
So, yeah, I mean, overall, it's an average episode of Doctor Who. It didn't exactly didn't break any new ground. Kind of just repaved old things, and yeah, there's a few laughs in there. There's a few moments that are like, oh, hey, that's funny. That's that's good. But yeah, it's I don't know. I honestly would say, as of right now, I have to think about this. It's probably the weakest Christmas special we've had.
Really? Dr. Widow and the Wardrobe exists. There's nothing weaker.
I was about to say.
Well,
There's been weaker.
At least with that one, there's a little more oomph to it. This one is kind of like...
it's the most boring thing I've ever sat
I was about to say. I remember watching them being like, this is very boring. I'm very disappointed.
I don't know.
Dude, I don't know. I'd put it mid-range in Christmas specials. It's not. I feel like the Capaldi specials are probably the best of overall anyway. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this is probably the weakest of those. But I feel like it's still better than having to sit through Runaway Bride again or Doctor Widow and Wardrobe. If I had to choose an episode to watch, I'd choose this.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's pretty weak, but yeah. In my opinion, that's just me. Maybe not you guys. That's fine. But cool. So yeah, so that's kind of our review for the return of Doctor Mysterio. Doctor Who returns this April, so
Woo!
a month before Connor and I
Finally.
graduate. Can't come any earlier. I don't know why. Um, but yeah,
It's still
so
fail of our classes.
yeah.
Fail.
Don't do that. Don't do that, Connor.
Not on purpose. Of course not. Of course not.
Of course not. But anyways, so yeah, that was our review. If you guys liked it, if you guys didn't like the episode, let us know in the comments below. What'd you think? So forth, so forth. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and especially share. And I'm going to just have a little plug, because I have to. Right now, I currently have Season 3 of Doctor Who and Doctor Who: The Reason, A New Era. All episodes are out. It's the final live action, so from now on, the rest of the episodes that come out will be audio. So I would watch it now. I mean, it's obviously going to be on my YouTube channel probably for eternity, but now is
But I
probably
mean, I'm in it, so that means you have to watch it as fast as possible.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And Connor, there's a few times we poke at your doctor. Sometimes
You
good.
totally should have had that scarf.
Oh, he's probably
So-
never
Yeah.
seen it yet. Yeah, we mixed
I was-
the Tom Baker with your blue jacket that you wore, and it actually looked so good. Like,
See, I'm telling you, you're on to something.
yeah,
On to the huge. I'm telling you.
yeah. Too bad the series is over after the audio episode's released. So,
Oh,
yeah. But anyways,
and another.
yeah. But anyways, so
Like-
thank you to my guest reviewers who took time today to actually do this. So to my left is Connor McCluskey. Say hi to people again, or peace, or yeah,
Hi.
whatever. That works too.
Especially rude in English.
Yeah. And then on my on my right is Corbett Baratta.
Whoa!
And yeah, so we will wow. We will see you guys when we see you next. Have a good holidays. Happy happy 2017, and yeah, see you guys later. Peace.
What?
Meow.